The Boston Celtics have become one of the NBA's most dominant franchises over the past decade, making the playoffs in each of the last 10 seasons and appearing in 6 Eastern Conference Finals in the last 8 years. And with the emergence of 2 former top 5 picks in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, the Celtics punched their ticket to the NBA Finals for the second time in 3 years on Monday. But unlike previous seasons, the Celtics' 2 young stars are now surrounded by championship-caliber role players, headlined by 7'3" Kristaps Porzingis and 2 all-defensive caliber players in Jrue Holiday and Derek White. And as a result, the Celtics steamrolled their way through the regular season, winning 64 games and capturing the best offensive rating in NBA history. And throughout the playoffs, the Celtics have only lost 2 games and have joined elite company, being one of only 10 teams to ever enter the NBA Finals, with 20 or less losses for the regular season and postseason combined. And if you look at the list on the screen right now, the only team that didn't win the NBA title was the 2016 Warriors, who choked a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals to the LeBron James Cavaliers. And this was all without Kristaps Porzingis for about 20 games in the regular season and for almost the entirety of their playoff run. But despite their dominance, many on social media and on many prominent sports media talk shows are talking down on the Celtics, saying they don't have what it takes to win, saying that they can't beat any team out west, which will presumably be the Mavericks in a couple of days. It sounds like many are doubting the Celtics already, despite not even having played a game in the NBA Finals yet. So where did all this hate for the Celtics come from? Is it just because they're a team from Boston and no one wants to see that city succeed? Or is it because they have a vendetta against Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, 2 guys who many believe should have already gotten the job done and gotten themselves a championship ring? And whether you like the Celtics or you hate the Celtics, I think one thing should be clear in our minds, and that's that the Celtics are the favorites to win the NBA Finals. But the crazy thing is, if you said that on social media, you'd be crucified. Everyone would say, oh, but Luka's there, oh, but Kyrie's there, and that's true. And that's not something to scoff at, of course, because I think the Mavericks have about a 35 to 40% chance to win this series. But I don't think we're giving the Celtics enough credit for how great they were in the regular season. I mean, this roster is championship built. They have guys who have already made the finals just a couple years ago. And they added Jrue Holiday, a former champion. They added Kristaps Porzingis, a veteran in this league who's been great on the Celtics when he plays. I mean, they have a bench that can hit threes, that can defend. They have everything that you'd want from a championship level team. But despite all of this, people, if you put that on Twitter, people would say that you're crazy. People would pick the Mavericks. People would say that you're glazing the Celtics. I just don't get it. And what makes it even worse is the fact that the Celtics have already punched their ticket to the NBA Finals, and the Mavericks are not guaranteed anything. They could come out tonight and lose a Game 5 and have to go back to Dallas for Game 6. This could very easily be a series that drags along, and we could see the Mavericks, if they even win this series, we could see the Mavericks potentially go into Game 1 of the NBA Finals on just a couple days of rest. Meanwhile, the Celtics are going to have 2 weeks of rest. Kristaps Porzingis is likely going to be ready for Game 1 of the NBA Finals, and they're going to be ready. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm just blinded by the Celtics' greatness that I don't see Luka and Kyrie playing as well as they are, and they're playing great, trust me. But I don't know. I don't understand the hate for the Celtics. And there's probably 2 reasons why people do hate the Celtics. The first of which is the fans. And I understand the hatred for the fans. They are pretty annoying at times, but to hate the team because of the fans, I don't get that. I mean, I understand Boston fans are annoying, whether that be Patriots fans, Celtics fans, or even Bruins fans. Pretty annoying. I can agree with that. But to hate the team because of them, to not like the players on the team because of them, I don't understand that part. And the second and more prominent reason is that the Celtics are led by a guy named Jason Tatum. And people just seem to not like Jason Tatum. They think he's carried by a super team. They think he's not built for clutch moments. They think that because he's made the Eastern Conference Finals so many times that he needs to already have a ring. And I can understand that at a certain point, but this guy is like 26, 27 years old. He's not 35. He hasn't just failed constantly in the NBA Finals. He was put in a good situation, of course, because Brooklyn made the worst trade of all time. But, I mean, that's not his fault. He was 18 years old going up there, or 19 years old going up there against LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals and pushing that team to 7 games. that should not be counted against him. I don't know why we count that against these guys. Because they go to the Eastern Conference Finals at such a young age, that's a negative thing? I don't get that part. And I've never got that part, because they're just doing what they're supposed to do. And now that they made the NBA Finals 2 times in the last 3 years, we're still gonna hate on them? I don't get it. Sure, they should have beaten the Heat a couple times. Last year, they should have not gone down 3-0 to the 8 seed Miami Heat. I can completely agree with that, 100%. But I don't understand why we still hate on them for that. They came back down from 3-0. They almost won that series. They got blown out in Game 7, but they almost won. They did their best. They tried. And they've been trying their entire career to make the NBA Finals and win. And maybe it's because they haven't won that we hate on them. But let me say this. If the Celtics win, I can guarantee you, no one's going to like them. No one's opinion's going to change. It's going to be that the Celtics had a super team. That Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown got carried. That's something that I don't understand completely about this social media hate. Because I don't think they're being carried. I think they've played incredibly, especially recently. And when Jason Tatum's shot hasn't been falling, which has been almost the entirety of these playoffs, he's been great on defense. He's been a great playmaker. He's been great in every other aspect except scoring. But because we just look at the box score, or because Twitter just looks at the box score, and they determine their opinions based off that, it's damaging to him, and it's damaging to the player that Jason Tatum is, because he's still a great player, even if the shot isn't falling. And sure, there's the small things that you can hate on Jason Tatum for, like his shot selection is questionable. I can completely agree with that. He takes way too many jumpers. He needs to go into the paint. He needs to drive in there. He is 6'10". He's a strong man. He could drive into the paint and easily get whatever he wants in there. But he just chooses to settle. And maybe I can understand you maybe not liking Tatum for that. But as a person, as a basketball player, he's still incredible. He's still a top 10 player in this league. He's still someone that could very easily be the best guy on a championship team, and we're seeing that right now. And let me say, I'm okay with being in the more controversial side of this, and I don't think it's that controversial. I just think that the tweets that blow up or social media posts that blow up, it's just easier to hate on people than to like people, and I think that's the culture that we're in today, unfortunately. But I think ultimately what it comes down to is people don't like Tatum, people don't like Boston. You put those two together, it's easy to not like them. You know, and I'm not going to hate on those people. They can have their opinions, they can say whatever they want, but I don't really see a problem with it. I don't see a problem with what the Celtics have been doing this entire year. And sure, they've had their rough games. They've not played great. They only lost 2 games in the playoffs, and that was without their starting center. That's great. Even if they had Porzingis, going 12-2 in the Eastern Conference, that's great. And it's what we expected. I've never seen a team get hated on for doing what they were expected to do. Like, seriously. I don't get it. I just don't understand it. And let me say, after defending the Celtics for about 7 minutes, that I am not a Celtics fan. I am a Toronto Raptors fan. And if anything, that should give me the right to hate on the Celtics. They are a division rival, and they are a team that has bounced us out of the playoffs, most notably in 2020. I mean, if the Raptors won that series, they could have very easily made the NBA Finals. But instead, they lost. They lost in 7 games. Siakam wasn't on his best game, and it was unfortunate. And I was very upset after that. I did not like the Celtics. I did not want them to beat the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I feel like that hate was justified. But now I see, Pistons fans coming on and hating on the Celtics. Like, bro, you lost 30 games in a row. And why do you hate the Celtics? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I am a Raptors fan. I should have every right to hate on the Celtics, and here I am defending them. What is wrong with this world? What are we doing? And one last thing before I keep going on this rant for another 30 minutes, let me say that the hate given to the Celtics for their easy path to the NBA Finals, I just don't think it's fair. Every team deals with injuries in the playoffs. It's what happens when you go through an 82-game regular season and you go as hard as you do for all 82 games. And it's unfortunate that these injuries have happened, because I would have loved to see the Celtics play against a fully healthy Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler. That series would have been fun, because Jimmy Butler always shows out against the Celtics, and while I don't think the end result would have changed, I think it would have been fun to watch Jimmy Butler play against Boston. And it was unfortunate that the Cavaliers dealt with so many injuries, especially in the closeout game, Game 5. But, I don't think that series goes more than 5 games if everyone's healthy. I don't think that's a crazy take. And of course, with the Pacers, yes, they dealt with Tyrese Halliburton being out. That was awful. I would have loved for Halliburton to play. I think if he played and he played as well as he can, I think that series could have gone 6 games, and it almost did go 6 games, honestly. The Pacers put up a great fight. But the Celtics, it doesn't matter. They made it to the NBA Finals. They had their path, and it's unfortunate that they dealt with injuries, but it's what happens. It's unfortunate, but it's what happens. And another point that a lot of people haven't brought up is that the Celtics have their own injury in Kristaps Porzingis that they've been dealing with for the entire playoffs. But no one seems to mention that because the Celtics have a super team, but not enough of a super team to win the NBA Finals. Just tell me how this all makes sense. I'm not going to continue debating with all that stuff. I'm done with that. But comment below what you think of the Boston Celtics. Tell me what you think of them so far through the season, and tell me if you think they're going to have a chance against the Mavericks. I think they're favored. I don't think it's that much of a question, but tell me what you think if they do play the Mavericks, or if you think the Timberwolves are going to make a miraculous comeback. Tell me what you think they're going to do with the Timberwolves. And until next time, I'm Julian with Talkback Sports, and I'll see you for my NBA Finals predictions.